Hey guys, and welcome to another day on the shop. Today we're working on the Camaro. So we're picking up right where we left off from the last episode. Got the engine together, got the exhaust done. It's still sitting in the sun because, like I said, this just rolled right in. I didn't want a 45-minute video of installing this thing. So we got this still drying out here. The alternator just got cleaned. All this wrap is drying. So it will stop being wet and stop being fiberglassed all over me, because I'm covered in fiberglass from doing this for the past 3 hours. Now we're going to start stripping some important parts off here, so I don't damage them or get paint scratches in the paint. So we're going to lift this thing up and we're going to put it in there. So let's get to it. Alright, so most of the important parts are taken off. Now the fun part, well, we'll move this. Need to still clean that fuel filter out. Now the fun part is I have to come over here, move stuff out of my way. I got too much stuff in my shop. Trash can, welding table. Alright, I need to get this lift out, not this one. I don't even know if this one works. I got it on a garage sale for like, I don't know, 40 bucks, 50 bucks. So, what is that one? A one ton Harbor Freight foldable thing, just like mine. So, alright, let's get this moved over there. Alright, so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to hook into the back of the head and the front of the head and come off the heads like this, lift this thing straight up, and then put it in the Camaro straight down. I hope I have the length. I should, hopefully. Fingers crossed. If I don't, well, we'll figure it out from there. But let's put this up. Alright, so we've got it hooked up now. All I gotta do is lift it up. Looks a little bit uneven-ish, maybe, I don't know. We'll find out. But all I gotta do is lift it up and lower it down there, and I have the motor mounts for it, or the bolts for it. And actually I gotta put the flywheel, or the pressure plate on it. Pressure plate. Flex plate. Flex plate goes on the back. So I gotta get those bolts and the flex plate itself behind the radiator and slap it on, and then once I do that, this should just drop in, and then I start hooking bolts up. So let's take this cross member off that I have holding the transmission up, put a jack up under it, and get that done. All right, transmission's jacked up on the jack. So we're going to lift this up and put the flex plate on. flex plate. All right, so I always like saying all right, and so come over here and trans bolts, starter bolts. Nope. Motor mounts. Okay. Always pack your stuff in bags. It makes it so much easier. So we'll toss this right here and lift this and lower it. Joke's on me. I think this thing's not long enough. So I'm just gonna barely let it down and see if we can clear this, the radiator support. If we can clear it, we can at least set the engine down, extend this boom just a little bit more. And once we do that, it should set it right into place. Let me keep going. All right, it's sitting on the metal end of the motor mounts. So I got to extend this boom out just a little bit more so I can get this stuff done. Plus, I think I need to go ahead and slide the headers in before I get the engine any further in so that I don't have any issues with trying to get them hooked up after the cars are, or after the engine's already in. So I'm going to slide this boom back, lift the engine up just a little bit, slide my headers in, and yeah, then set this thing back down where it goes. All right, engine's picked back up. Let me get these headers. All right, headers are in an obscure way, but they're in. So the next thing I got to do is slowly drop this engine so it doesn't ruin my header wrap and all that. So I got about 3 or 4 inches on this side and no inches on that side because the engine's twisted a little bit. So I'll move it back a little bit more towards the driver's side and we'll slowly drop it. All right, engine is sort of in. The transmission is a little high back there, just a little bit, and to the side it looks like. So I need to bring the transmission down. I need to tilt the motor forward some more. So let's push this back. At the same time, I need to put the motor mounts in. So I'm going to put the motor mounts in now. Okay, so I had to change shirts and stuff because I had fiberglass all over me. Engine is not bolted down, but we do have bolts in where the that thing, motor mount, goes. So we have motor mounts in. We have bolts that go through. This one's really close to my old fuel pump right here. I may or may not have to pull this back off and put this bolt back through the other way because I don't know how it's sticking through. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bolt it to the transmission, and once we bolt it to the transmission we can start getting other stuff done. Right now I'm going to well, I guess we can still bolt it to the transmission. That's probably what I'll do next. And then the next thing is I'll move my wires where they need to go and my vacuum hoses. Then the following thing is I'm going to put oil in it and prime the oil system. And after that we're going to start working with these lifters and getting everything done towards prepping the motor to run. So let's get into bolting that transmission in. Alright, so this is a perfect opportunity to use my OLSA Tools swivel head ratchet. A normal ratchet doesn't fit back here very easily. You'll have to get either the impact with a long extension, or you'll have to do something else. But with this, since it has a swivel head on it, at the where the socket is, you can actually do this, because it doesn't require you to be straight up and down. Because it's just at an angle enough to where a straight ratchet doesn't fit, even a slim one. So we're getting this trans bolt in, and once we do it, we'll get the other one in over there, and then we'll start working our way around until we get to the starter. So that's what we're doing. We're gonna put the starter in, and then we'll do the pressure plate or flex plate. But we'll have most of this put back together before we ever get to that, because I want to prime the motor and everything beforehand and get some of the, well, I only need the accessories on there to prime it. So that's what's going to happen. I'll probably end up getting everything done and then hooking the fuel pump up last, because I don't want any fuel going anywhere. So yeah, that's what we're going to get doing. Alright, I've hooked up a lot of stuff. I guess I'm going to hook up the starter real quick, depending on what time it is. Alright, so I'm not going to hook up the starter right now. But I've gotten most of the trans hooked up. I've gotten the wires ran where I want them. I've got the water hooked up. I've got the oil pressure hooked up. The motor mounts are tightened. I had to order the priming rod that goes down into there for the oil pump, because a screwdriver head doesn't really work good because it wobbles around inside of it. Figured that would be a good idea, but it wasn't. I started getting prime, but every time I'd get prime, it would fall off the little shaft. So right now we're here. Engine is in. Now hopefully tomorrow, the next time you're looking at this in about 5 seconds, I'll be putting the priming rod in there and priming this thing so I can get the lifters 100%, because I don't want to do it. I did it before. I can't really do anything until I get my rocker set. I mean, well, I could. It's a few things. But I don't want to do my headers yet because I don't want oil all over them, just in case. Spark plugs, no, I don't want to put them on. Alternator, I want to paint it before I put it on, so that's a no-go. Radiator, I could throw it in here, but it would just get in the way of everything else that I'm doing right now, and I prefer to leave it all out. So for the night, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to call it a night for tonight, and y'all will come back, and we'll cover this all up and then uncover it in just a minute. Stay tuned. Alright, today's a new day. So trying to prime the 350, I was having issues. The drill and the little mechanism I was trying to use, which is basically a flathead screwdriver, wasn't working the way I needed to. I wasn't getting enough pressure from the pump. So I'm going to put the distributor in, no plugs, no fuel pump, and I'm going to turn it over with the rockers pretty loose so that we can get oil flow through everything as the engine turns over. And then once we do that, then we'll slowly start tightening the rockers down and put a preload on them so that they have exactly what they need, so I don't bend any push rods. So let's get to it. So first thing I want to do is make sure this thing's still in top dead center, and then I want to take the distributor and put it at coil 1, well, cylinder 1, and then I should be able to drop it in and start getting it prepped. Technically don't have to do that because that distributor is not going to do anything until I actually put it in and all together. But to prime the oil system, I'm going to go ahead and just knock that out. So I shouldn't have to pull this back out and deal with all that. So let's check to see if we're at top dead center again, and then put that at number 1 and start from there. Okay, so to make sure I know where I'm putting this, I'm going to line up a couple of lines to the distributor. And there's a 2, and we'll just do a 1 right here, so that I know which the orientation is, because it has 4 set screws. Well, not set screws, but 4 holder tabs for this, so I can take it off, and now I know where I'm going with it. So that's all that matters to me. All right, we're going to set the distributor in. I've got this set to to number 1, which is the marking up here. So and then I got my little gasket. I'm going to set my gasket on. Then I'm going to keep this lined up with that 1 line. Alright, so we got the distributor in. It is at top dead center, right where it's sitting. And we're at top dead center on the engine. So next we got to put the starter on. So I'm going to grab it off the table here, and we're going to toss it up under here. And with the header loose, that makes it easier. So I got a little bit of oil down there, so I'll probably put, scoot the whole car up. Once I scoot the whole car up, I should be able to crawl up under there. Since I don't have a lift, I need a lift and get this thing on. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so we got the header or the starter in. We got it wired. Now all we gotta do is just start turning the engine over and hoping. Well, we got to put a battery in and run the power and ground. And once we do that, then it should crank over, and we should have no issues towards just cranking it over, getting some oil pressure. So let me get this battery in, get the wiring in, and we'll go from there. All right, so part of this venture is cleaning things up, making it look pretty. Well, my wire loom wasn't quite big enough, so I taped the whole thing. And then I've also got this heat shield that I'm going to put around here. All right, so from the way I'm sweating, yeah, I got the battery in. It's not the prettiest little ordeal right now because these wires are quite long. I could not get it through here to the starter with the power wire, so I just set it on top, put this little doohickey right here to hold it. The ground is strapped to the block. Nothing is hooked up as a fuel, spark, water. Yeah. So, all right. So I'm going to turn this over a few times and let this thing prime itself pretty good, and hopefully, it primes good. So let's try that. All right. So I'll put some painter's tape right here to kind of catch oil if it doesn't drain back like it should easily. So let's turn this engine over. We're back. It's a new day. I've kind of already done a few things. Snugged up these rockers. They should be good. Primed the oil system. It should be good. And now I'm starting to put in spark plugs because they're easier when the headers are off. So I'm going to put in the spark plugs. I got to drop this header back in because it was a pain in the butt to get the starter in. So since the starter's in, and once we get the header in, we can put spark plugs on this side and snug them all up. And once we get them snugged up, get the headers on, get the valve covers on, and then start hooking up other stuff. I have a whole list here that we're going down. We're doing spark plugs. We did the rockers, so we can kind of just do the headers, the exhaust, the radiator, the alternator, power steering, fuel line, fuel filter, plug wires, all fluids, check the lights, break it in. Checking the lights actually needs to probably go down here right before register. Break in, change the oil after we break it in good and take it for a couple drives. Register, get the radio in there, even though we don't have speakers in, but put the radio in and have it ready to go. So when we get our door panels, all we gotta do is put our speakers in. So we're getting there. It looks beautiful. Minus the dipstick, I had to move it so I could get the header in. So back to it. Okay, so as you can see from my face, I had to pull the starter back out to get the header back in. It's in now. Now, spark plugs. All right, so spark plugs in. Next is headers. We can do that. So on all my exhaust components, I've learned over the years to use ultra copper. It works. If one of these gaskets gives out, it helps to have ultra copper in there. It holds it all together so it doesn't just blow out. It also stretches and everything else and kind of moves with the header itself, and it doesn't have any negative effects other than it's just orange and it gets everywhere if you don't do it right. So I'm going to put this on every single runner on the exhaust, and then I'll also put it under the car to prevent any leaks on the coupler to the actual exhaust pipe from the header. So let's hop in here. So as you see, I didn't use the other gaskets. These little crappy gaskets that these are, they fall apart so easily, no matter how open your exhaust is. Once they heat up, cool down, heat up, cool down, they start deteriorating. So I use ultra copper on all of it. I snugged it up. I didn't tighten it down yet. It's not all torqued to spec yet. It's just snugged down just a little bit, and I'm going to let it sit for about 15 minutes. Basically, whenever I get this other header in place. And then once I get the other header in place, I'll come back and snug this down, and then I'll snug the driver's side down. So I'm going to hop on that and get the driver's side in. Not going to bore y'all with that. And then we're going to come back and finish this header up. And then we'll have the headers done. Then we move on to the exhaust and then the valve covers. Alright, so we got our spark plugs in. Our headers on, so we can mark, got spark plugs up there, headers, whoop, and nothing else yet. I did clean out the filter, whoop, yeah, so we're going to get to the next thing. I also put the valve covers on, as you see. I also fixed a vacuum line ordeal I had right here, so that's just some heat shrink on two vacuum lines, 2 different sizes. I also sprayed this booster a little bit just to kind of help with color. Now I can put this back in. So a rubber grommet. I can get it back in there. Oh, it's a struggle. All right. Now. Why? Alright, there we go. So vacuum line's on, well, booster's on. This vacuum line has not been done because I have not put this in yet, and that's probably one of the next things I'll do. Is put the carburetor in. I'm going to clean it up real quick, get some of this crap off. And then we'll put the alternator on, the power steering on. Radiator's probably going to be last because, no, it'll probably be next. I just don't want transmission fluid going everywhere if I crank it. So, still got the, still got bolts to put in too. Man, got a lot more than I thought. And then I just realized the exhaust has a small leak in it. So down here, in this pipe, I have a hole right there. So, looks like I get to weld a little bit and then try and clean it up and make it work. So, yeah. I'm going to hammer this out and we're going to get this done because this next video is going to be the first start of this engine rebuilt. So let's get to work. right, so we got all this back in. Power steering, alternator, used a P-clamp up here to hold this out of the way for the first time, so that actually helped. I found an issue, and my issue is the rubber that holds the radiator in. I apparently threw away and meant to order another one, or another set in black, and I forgot. So I don't have any rubber isolators for the radiator. So I'm on hold to really crank this up and keep going with it. I mean, technically, I was thinking I could drop the radiator in for right now and just run it and break it in like that, and then come back when I get the isolators and slap them in. All I have to do really is just leave this panel right here that holds the radiator top in and just pop it off, pull the radiator up just a little bit, slide those in, set it back down, put the cap back on, and we should be able to roll out. So I'm thinking that's what I might do, because I really want to get this thing started, and it's putting me at a stopping point. So I think I am going to go ahead and slap everything in, come back and put those isolators in after the break-in. So yeah, I guess we're going to be throwing a radiator in real quick. All right, well, we got the radiator kind of in. Rubber isolators, how about old radiator hose, dual purpose. So that's what I'm using right now. It's pretty good. It's about the same size when it's squished. So yeah, I'm throwing this in real quick. Got the lower radiator hose in, got the fan in, got the shroud in, got to put the upper radiator hose in. I don't think this radiator hose is going to work though. Let's see. It may or may not. It may. Yeah. Okay. It's just a straight shot. It may or may not work. This other one's all cockamamie and big. So, I don't know. We're going to find out real quick. Alright, so we got a lot done. This is probably a long video. I don't really know how long it's going to be, because, yeah, I've been 110 videos on this memory card. But we got, like I said, the radiator's all the way in. Got it in. Got the hoses on, top and bottom. Just have to fill the radiator up. Have to hook up the exhaust. Have to hook up the flex plate to the torque converter. Got a couple more bolts that go from the transmission to the engine, and then the exhaust. And I have to fix that exhaust leak. So we're there, basically. I could literally start it up right now, but I don't have time to today. So we're going to do that in the next episode. So stay tuned, because this thing is going to be cranked and broken in the next episode. If you like these videos, please subscribe, give me a like, give me a comment down below. If it helped you out at all, that's cool too. Check out Birch at teespring.com. It's in the link in the description. So is the Patreon and Instagram, and most of the parts that I used in this will be down the link in the description below. So I want to thank you for joining in to another episode of the shop. Until next time.